What's shaking, cats and kittens? Rob Lee here for this month's presenting sponsor, Night Owl Gallery. Night Owl Gallery is an intimate, artist-run exhibition space showcasing the original paintings and fine art prints of Beth Ann Wilson. Also, it features curated goods from local artists and craftsmen. You'll be sure to find one-of-a-kind gifts, handcrafted jewelry, home decor items, along with a few vintage treasures. Located in the rear of 248 South Conklin Street in Highlandtown, across from the Sally O's, Night Owl Gallery is a unique space that brings together Wilson's love of the arts, community, and culture. Additionally, Night Owl Gallery hosts an array of arts and crafts workshops throughout the year and participates in community events, many of which are free and open to the public. So in this ever-changing world, safety is their priority. So feel free to join them and hit them up online at www.nightowl.gallery. Tell them Rob Lee sent you. Welcome to Getting to the Truth in His Art. I am your host, Rob Lee, and today I have the privilege of speaking to a glorious hero. I have Akio Evans on the podcast. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, what's up, man? I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me, man.
So you're more than a glorious hero. You're welcome. You're more than a glorious hero. That's part of it.
Yes.
Also, you're a multi-talented artist. You're in various areas.
Yes, indeed. Well, I've been doing all things that my mind will follow, like with being filmmaking, documenting. Since I was able to have my hands on a camera, I was able to like just pick that thing up and just go. That happened when I was 16. But I always had a creative niche of making something, of manipulating something. When I had the thin slates on Bond Street, for those who know, they look like fake Timbs. And my sister, she would draw the Timberland sign because we was embarrassed. She would draw the Timberland sign on the sides, and we fooled a lot of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so, but
it's like one of those things. It's like I remember back in the day, I used to go to the wild like $29 shoe store or what have you. And I was like, yo, these and ones are not Jordans. Let's not do that. Or those Airs, not even Nike Airs, just the Air joints.
Yo, I remember you ever had I had Rydell's, yo, 6th grade with the Lombard middle, man. I thought I was, because when you're young, you don't think nothing of it, especially when you grow up poor. You don't think, you just look at a fresh pair of kicks, man. People was like, hey, yo, It was embarrassing, man. Really embarrassing. I
mean, the thing for me, because like as you remarked when I got here, I'm obviously the biggest person in my family. So having to like, yo, this kid's got like size 13s. I was already like in middle school. I was wearing my dad's clothes.
Wow.
Like, you need to get a job. I was like, I am 12. But let's talk about that though. So
okay.
some of the stuff that I'm seeing, like especially even with the shirt you have on, that references a movie that I believe is in the anniversary year. It might be 25th, 26th anniversary.
Absolutely.
So you're wearing this dope Set It Off shirt or what have you, and that's a design of yours that you're putting together, right?
Yes, indeed. Yep.
So speak on that work that you're doing, because that's the thing that I was like, all right, I need to talk to this dude.
Man, well, actually, I mean, just starting off with what I've been doing, man, I just wanted to actually go off of what me and my siblings had looked at, the movies that my mother had made us watch when we were kids. Now, Jason's lyrics, as you remember that, like we had to leave the room or she would put out. But majority of the movies that we did see, it was bootleg. You get what I'm saying? So, you can hardly see anything in there, But, man, most of the shirts that I'm making now, you might have seen some of the comic books off air. We was talking about comic books and stuff like that. My mother, she would make me she would make me read comics, and she was a nerd, right? So she loved to read. She loved it. She wasn't an official teacher, but she would, anytime she got an opportunity to teach at my elementary school, she would, be a substitute teacher. But she would leave some comic books in my room, and she was like, hey, did you read the second issue of Batman and Wolverine? I'm like, yeah, I read it. She said, okay, well, what happened? And I'll make up something, and she said, you didn't read it. And she would take 2 of the comic books away and make me read before I can earn to get another comic book. So and then when X-Men came out, the Fox Kids version. Man, that comic was, that show was deep. It was mainly for adults.
It was fire, yeah.
Man, but I remember my mother looking at Storm and how because she grew up in an age where Looney Tunes, they were borderline racist, and she knew it then. Everybody knew it then. But to see herself on there. So I take all those, whether it be comics, whether it be movies, and I actually, like, we talked offline, the nostalgia of just looking at those actual pieces, actually being a walking billboard, or some people who collect my art, they say, yo, I just wanted it in my closet so I could just look at it. I feel honored just by that. So it's just more so of just having those memories that we have in a capsule, be it you wearing it as art or you just having it as a keepsake, that's my main aim to actually, make and create,
Yeah. I admire that, like being able to, as I was telling you, like when we were talking earlier, like I like to go back and look at old movies and just dissect them and get more immersed in them. And it's the thing, like you're selling, like not you per se, but the notion of like selling nostalgia. And it's like, you remember when that was this? It's like, take you back to that. That's something that's deep, that connects to people. It's like, you're not necessarily looking at and seeing, because as you're an adult, right, you're seeing stuff, you're like, all right, that was a shot. That's some bad acting right there. But you go back to what you were thinking as a kid. You connect to that point versus what you're seeing. Absolutely. So I'll tell you this before I get to my next question. I remember you mentioned X-Men, right? I remember watching, what is it? It may have been Days of Future Past. And I marked out when Cyclops like popped. I was like, yo, Cyclops is alive. I was like, let's get it. And someone was like, can you calm down? You see like a 6'4", 300-pound man just like, taking his shirt off, throwing it around. It's crazy. So tell me a little bit more about your background in growing up. You had the comic story. That's the thing. That's the thing. I remember my parents used to give me Wizard. You remember that old book?
Oh my goodness, man. Yeah, I remember Wizard.
And it was more like, it wasn't necessarily read. It was because I was a good student, so that wasn't my issue. My issue was I would rush through my work to draw. And then I would take the B, because I know I'm going to get the B, and then I would draw, and I used to get in trouble about that.
Wow.
So instead of them saying, they're like, well, here's some wizard stuff, become more aware of this and get better at drawing and maybe make some money off of it one day. So it was more like a test.
Well, yeah. Everything was like a test for, when growing up. Like even when summer vacation used to start off, I was thinking that we were going to enjoy the whole entire summer. Nah. My mother, she had like stuff written out for us. And it's because we lived in a crazy neighborhood. You know what I mean? It was violence. I mean, everything you can name. And I feel like she did that because when she left to go to work, we had to watch ourselves at an early age. Grew up and it was times we had only ramen noodles to eat or ketchup sandwiches and stuff like that. So she had to keep us occupied. And the only way she felt like she needed to keep us occupied or discipline us, she shook us. She got us shook because she said, hey, if the neighbors catch you outside, I'm going to know. And I gave them permission to beat you, which had happened. And if you don't finish the homework by the time I come home, and then so as though my sisters, they knew that I was behind on, like, I would play the Sega Genesis. I wasn't a kid because I was like, all right, better. I don't know how to do the multiplications or whatever. I'll just take that beating. And they'd be like, nah, Akio, because if one of us failed, we all got a beating. If one of us didn't finish and this was summer. Yeah. And then it didn't even matter. Like, it was some days where you said, talk about my background a little bit. Some days where we had our gas electric off. You get what I'm saying? So my mother didn't care. You know what I'm saying? Whereas though, like, she really wanted us to complete those things. And, man, she was really just about education and teaching. And I feel like was a part of what I'm doing now subconsciously, be it, teaching people all the time, where a video production, or if I'm teaching them basic skills of how to create. You don't have to be an artist or to learn how to draw. There's other ways that you can actually create and make something. That's something that my mother had instilled in us because she was always like doing the seamstress. She was doing things to have a hustle because she was a single parent. And struggling, whereas though my mother could never keep a roof over our head because we got evicted. We had to leave things behind, all the comics, all the toys, all the things that I've had. I had to leave that behind. And so that's why when I'm creating, sometimes when you just said Wizard, when you just said that, I literally forgot all about that. And I had those books as well. I might have had the second hand-me-downs that had the wrinkles in them, but that's why I'm holding on to some of the things that when I'm creating too, because it's like, even I just started collecting toys about a year ago. That's the thing. That's the thing I wanted to key in on, because like we used to get some of our toys. It's like we didn't have it budgeted. Like we lived in Lafayette Projects, so we didn't have. See what I'm saying? We didn't have it, but seventh floor. We didn't have it budgeted for like, you need these toys. It was like, look, you're getting toys at Christmas. You're getting a video game at Christmas. That's that. And anything we wanted in the time between, it was like, I go to the Goodwill. Man, yeah, indeed. And we would get like the Transformers might be missing a leg or something. Yep. But that was kind of the steam there. And
now as an adult, I remember we had some of the first run of things from like maybe aunts and uncles would get us.
Yeah.
So like original Ninja Turtles or something like that.
Yeah.
And now as an adult, I'm like, yeah, I need this. It's not coming out of the case though, but this is going to be. I got the little shrine there that has my pop culture references.
Same here, yo. Yeah. Same here.
It got the pops on the top.
Yep.
And then it's got like wrestling figures. And it kind of just goes down.
Here, bro. Like I got a Bishop that's been in the plastic since '93 that I got from online, and I can't make my friend actually gifted to me last year for my birthday. Shout out to my homie Jazz. He gifted to me on my B-Day. And he was like, "Yo, Keo, it's your toy, man. You can take it out." I say, "Yo, Doug." And I'm 36 at the time. I just now turned 37 2 months ago. But I said, "Nah, Doug. Like, do you understand that this been in the plastic since '93? I'm not taking this out." As much as he remembered that I said that I always wanted a Bishop toy, but like you said, like being in Lafayette Projects or growing up in those communities. Even when I remember, I could never have the Bishop toy, but I remember actually going to school 250 on Caroline. And they would give kids in the neighborhood like the Pro Wings and the shoes and stuff like that. And I was so excited because, like I said, I would see a fresh pair of new shoes, but I never would see. But all the other students, all the other kids in the neighborhood, they would be looking like, we're not getting none of them. And when I wore the shoes, man, I even got a picture that I shared about a few months back. It's me and my twin sister and my other sister and my mom's. We was at the '93 AmFram. Yeah. And I got those same exact shoes on. I loved it because they had like a little reflector, but I got teased a lot growing up. So I would have never wearing the shoes, having holes in my shoes, this and the third. So fast forward to now, being an artist and actually being called and commissioned to do these sneakers by celebrities, and like I feel like that's so much. It's like a little catch-22, if you will. Yeah. Like how is it? But. Yeah, I'm definitely like amazed at how things come full circle. Whereas, like when some of my students, like when I would teach video production, they would learn later that I design sneakers too. Yeah. So I would bring the sneakers to the school, and some of the kids, I see myself in them because they are going through the same struggles that I went through. And, it's just amazing how, I be sharing even with them. And during the pandemic, I remember I was being sent some images on my Instagram from parents who were actually excited that their kids were actually creating sneakers. And they was like, oh, look at my daughter Therese, she's making sneakers. And it was just amazing just to see that small inspiration get exploded in a way where I wouldn't even have imagined. So, man, it's just really amazing how those things play out. You know what I mean? Just having that struggle and just understanding like, your struggle is really a result of you having to actually mentor or actually have be relatable to some of those kids is just really amazing. Because had I not went through that, who was to say I would be the person I am today?
I think that they're, especially with people's different upbringings, like, you learn things that you may not recognize that you're getting at the time. Mm-hmm. And, like that perseverance, that acknowledgement that education and being around and things like that are important. It may not be you got an A on this test, but it's like, can you solve problems? What are these transferable things? Like, we didn't really have, at least me and my brother talk about on occasion that, we were broke. And it was like this realization. But it's like, we got we got Pizza Bowlies regularly though. And we, having both our parents around or what have you. But then I started looking back on it like, they couldn't afford clothes for me though. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I was stunting though, because I was wearing my dad's clothes. I'm wearing jerseys all the time and shit. Wow. I'm talking about like the authentic joints. I had like the Sammy Sosa jersey on the Frank Thomas joint. I was like, is my dad like a Crip and shit? Like, what's this White Sox jersey? What is this? Or wearing like Banana Republic all the time, stuff that he was wearing because we didn't have it per se. So it was like almost like being presented as older. Indeed. And then having the size to go along with it. Yeah. And then really people are like, you're just older, right? It's like, no, I'm 12 or whatever. Yeah. And it's a thing. It's a thing. And I think we tend to go back to our circles. Yeah. We return to it. So it's like, if there's something that you missed out on or something that you feel like you see it from rappers, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't get this as a kid, so I'm gonna get it now. Yeah. I couldn't afford that then, so I'm gonna get it now.
Exactly.
And we want to relive that. And I think it's important. I
It
think it's
is.
important when you don't have it because you have to celebrate that. And you touched on a second ago with your students, with your kids, that when you're having that opportunity to you see something in them, you're like, I want to make this easier for you somehow.
Yeah.
One of my good friends who's a podcaster, he podcasts with me. When I met him, he had the same job I had.
Okay.
That I previously had. So the story goes for me. I my first job I was a janitor, and I was a janitor at the phone company, right?
Okay.
And you get to see how people are treated. You get that perspective. Not really how I treat people, but you get to see how people are treated.
Yeah.
And I was young. So you're in that formative time. You don't really know who you are. And you just hear people talking about you, and it's not good. Not good for a kid to hear, because I was like 15, right? So I go through college, wrap up college, finish that, and then come back, and I'm a manager at the same building.
Wow.
And I get to look at these people with like a shit-eating grin. It's like, oh, yeah, do I know you? Like you were saying earlier, you had the long, I had like the long cornrows, and when I came back, I had like the regular. They're like, who are you? I was like, I'm nobody.
Yeah.
And I'm like actually over you. Now. So when I met him, he was a janitor, my man's. And I'm just sparking up a conversation with him, just talking with him. And not like, yo, get my trash, dude. But I was like, yo, like, what's good, man? You got the Dragon Ball Z shirt on. I see that's a cool anime, man. And we built a friendship off of that, and it's getting rid of this. And that's a friendship that's been over 10 years, by the way.
Wow.
That's getting past this whole, I know more than you.
Yeah.
Or I'm better than you, or whatever that people do all the
Yeah.
time. And really, it came out of this. I see what you're doing. You're doing what I used to do. And this is only a temporary thing.
Exactly.
Because I know the stuff that you can hear.
Man.
And it's crap.
Man.
So you touched on having like a commissioned sneaker art that's been collected by multiple people. I'm gonna hit some of the names, not all of them. I mean, I see Dave Chappelle, I see Dr. Dre, I see AI. How was it learning of their interest in your work, and even in times meeting some of these folks? How describe that?
Man, it was definitely interesting, man. Definitely interesting, Rob. It was more so every time I'm like, okay, when I'm being commissioned to do these pieces, it's like the very moment that I'm getting excited to do these pieces, it's like I gotta automatically get back into my game face mode, because this is like a pair of sneakers that I'm actually being commissioned for $4,000 a piece, and I can't mess this up. So it's just like, that discipline comes there, and I feel like, how
turn off your fandom.
It turned off automatically.
Yeah.
But then the fandom goes back into when I have to research and I have to find images that, because each and every piece that I create, I'm also like to go at it with a personal route. So I find like personalized images to actually bring the piece together. Like for Dr. Dre, his piece that I made, I put the mixer, and I had to actually find the mixer. The mixer was hard to find because, the mixer, I mean, you can easily Google it, but then when you actually try to blow up the image, it's pixelated. So when I finally found it, it was a mixer that I forgot the exact mixer, what it was, but he said that was one of the best gifts that he ever received from his mom. And that actual mixer was also the introduction to his mixing as a DJ.
Oh, wow.
You get what I'm saying? So I put that as the hang tag, and each and every tag that I actually create where I do the art pieces, whether it was for Allen Iverson and all the people that you just mentioned, I always put my tags, be it of my logo or their personalized hang tag of something. Like for Dave Chappelle, was like the book that he mentioned as a reference into how he felt like he got screwed over by Comedy Central. It was the Bottom Bitch book or whatever. But I always put something like that on the left side because my mother, she died of a heart attack. And so all of the logos, all of the personal hang tags, it goes on the left side. And, it was funny because I was always making clothes. And like how you said too, man, I'm a piggyback what you just was talking about how you was in a managing position. And this is going to drive it home of what you was just asking me. I remember I used to, walk around with a duffel bag, and this is when I still had my warrants here in Baltimore. And I would catch buses, and before the social media age, I would have all my artwork in a Polaroids, and show anybody. I was posted up at Lexington Market. I was posted up where K-Swift, she used to DJ right outside of Sick Lane. And I would stop people before they even go into downtown locker room or the Shoe City, there's the Lexington Market. And I was like, hey, man, they ain't got what I got in this bag, man. And I said, hey, if you want to look like anybody else, man, you can. But I'm telling you, if you want something from me, man, I'm telling you, you're going to look exclusive. And then when they'll come out, they're like, all right, man, what you got? And then when I would open up the stuff, they're like, oh, dang, they'll see the Dickie shirt with the images of New Jack City going down. And these are still some of the designs that are not still created to this day. So that's why I'm about to go back into that bag and start creating them again. But anyway, I remember one time distinctively, I was actually on a bus, and I had so much, like, I was bold, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I knew that I had to change the minds of who I would see or interact with, because I still had my warrant. I was only in Baltimore temporarily to go back to Phoenix, or at that time I was either going through Phoenix, so I was in Seattle. So I know that if I seen anybody on the bus, I would never see them again. And I would work my way up from the front to the back, and I would show people my Polaroids and all that, and they would flip through my book like, "Oh, you need a store, you need a store." I would hear that all the time, and they'd be like, "Give me your card." I'm like, "I'll give my card." And I remember seeing this one individual that went to my school, and and I remember her face. You know how you say familiar face? You gonna show you ain't been to school. This was like I had him in 2007, so he wasn't in school since 2002. I graduated. And I was just going to share with her what I've been up to lately, right? Yeah. So by the time I got there, I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And she's like, I said, "Here's my book." She's like, "You're a loser."
Oh shit!
And I remember this. Still to this day. Yeah. She said, "You're a loser," and I was like, "Huh?" And I think I get it why she said that, because here it is. She don't know what I'm doing. She don't know. She still ain't see the book or what I was doing. Years later, this person had me on MySpace. Then she had me on Facebook. Then she had me on. Still to this day, she got me on Instagram. And it's funny because when I started doing my limited drops, I just started doing those drops like about a year ago. Well, my first drop was in October. It was the Meteor Man drop. And make a long story short, man, she had reached out to me. She got some pieces for her and, her the guy that she's with at the time. And she remembered that moment. She was like, she seen everything from, she seen me when I was where I was at on that bus. Yeah. When I had the locks, when I had the goals in my mouth, when I had my warrant, she see me in that stage, and she see me now, and she bought like 5 hoodies from me, and it was like a way I looked at it, like of an apology, like, I'm sorry for calling you a loser, I'm sorry for judging you because you was just trying to make it, you was just a black man trying to make it, and here's my apology. I'm gonna buy 5 hoodies from you, and my hoodies is about 100 piece, so that was really, I was
substantial.
Like, you know what I mean? So I was just like, wow. So yeah, but My creative process mainly is to actually not just create anything. Anybody can make and slap any colorway on to a silhouette of an Air Force One or whatever the case may be. But I like to go in depth about what I create. It's very thoughtful, and I want it to be as such, because when I'm no longer here, I want that piece to be something that the family or whoever looks at that piece, like even for Dr. Dre's studio, I want people to walk past that piece and be like, "Oh wow, you know what I mean? I remember that was when I want," so that's pretty much what draws my inspiration of creating. And it amazes me every time. Like every time I create something, like for Kevin Hart, it was my first time actually trying to just have the whole canvas be painting. I didn't know what I was doing at that time. I just knew that I wanted to paint the whole entire sneaker similar to all his comedy tours. And I remember when I met him, when we finally sealed the deal, because this guy, his close friend, had commissioned me to make the piece for him. I remember I was with him and Nico, and I was like, I went to him. This is after his bodyguard, who, if you've seen him, you would never know he's his bodyguard. He has a ponytail, but main man, he's on point. But he had actually locked the shoes up, and he put them in Kev's hotel. You know what I mean? Yeah. But when I after we made the transaction, we took a picture, we talked a bit. I was observing him, and then I came back after the fight because I was kicking him majority of the night. I was like, "Hey man, my bad, man. Look, I wish I would have made the shoes like this way, that way." He said, "Look, man, like stop that. I'm not going to let you do that right now." He said, "I'm not going to let you do that. You're dope. You're here because you're dope." He said, "Man, understand that you're dope. That's why you're here, man." He said, "I'm not going to let you down yourself like that, man." Yeah. And then in that moment, I was like, "Yo," he said, "No," he said, "I'm putting the shoes up." He said, "When I wear the off-whites, I work in the off-whites when they get dogged up. And what I do with that is I throw them away." He said, "Your shoes, I'm putting them up." Yeah. He said, "So but even then, I didn't understand the value of art. And then I was getting told by peers like, "Dad, yo, why the people that you make the stuff for, they don't ever wear them? Why do you just collect them?" And then I started to learn that, okay, wow, what they do with art pieces, they collect them. Like cars, for example. Like Pharrell, he has pieces in cars, and you go to the Brooklyn Museum, and Pharrell or Jay-Z, we was talking about Jay-Z before we get on the podcast. Those individuals, they collect those pieces, and that's become generational wealth because Brooklyn Museum or all these other museums, they invest in that art piece to be displayed at Brooklyn. And then
this is on loan from
and that never depreciates.
And I think that's the thing. And going back to it, because I want to touch on it, that notion that I think we try to, because of I think where we're at, and maybe this is right. I think because of where we're at, we're like, I could do better though. Yeah, I think it's because where we're from.
Yeah,
I think that's a piece of it.
Exactly.
And I'll add this in there before I move to the next thing.
Okay.
You know, when they were filming part of Meteor Man, they were filming across the street from Lafayette Projects.
Indeed.
Me, my brother, and my dad, we went over and they were filming one of the rooftop scenes. I'll never forget that. We went over there for that, and it was one other movie. Do you remember Head of State?
I do. Chris Rock.
Yeah, when he did the Players Club, the ball or what have you, they filmed part of that at the Senator. My dad was driving. He was like, "That's a lot of ass right there." Pulls over, and then we get out and just look. Like we just so yeah.
History, man.
Always, my dad. He's a dude that will spot a movie being filmed, or spot a TV show being filmed.
And that's amazing that you mentioned Head of State because the reason why I started actually, and this is a weird story. Before we conclude, when I first started my first drop, bro, it was gonna be it was the Black Panthers. It was gonna be the Black Panther drop, right? Because I was wearing the shirt all of 2020 throughout the pandemic, and it was a comic book that my friend Jazz, you know, he was like, yo, which I found later that he was my cousin. He was like, yo, I want this Black Panther shirt, yo. I was like, all right. He said, no, Keo, I want your logo on it. And he put your logo. I was like, all right, bet. So then when I had made it or whatever, I said, yo, I'm gonna do another comic book, and I did another comic book, and when I was posting it, people was like, yo, dang, yo, that shirt, that design is dope. I said, all right, bet. Now, this was like August 17th. August 27th, and I still have it on my Instagram, and I was like, all right, y'all been asking all summer for me to drop this Black Panther joint, so I'm going to drop it on August 28th, which is the next day. And the next day, Chadwick Boseman passed. And similar to what I was talking about, like the personal stuff, it seems like every time I'm creating, right, it has like these synchronicities. Like when Dr. Dre seen his shoes that I made him, he was like, how did he know how to put that text on that part where he don't even know that that's the name of my new Netflix series? And I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, when Chadwick Boseman passed away, I was like, people was like, yo, you still ain't gonna sell it? I'm like, nah, bro, I ain't gonna sell the Black Panther stuff. I said, I said, I'm gonna wait, but I ain't gonna sell it. And then I was pondering, I said, what can be the first drop? Meteor Man. Okay, Meteor Man. I can do Meteor Man because it was shot here in Baltimore. Yeah. It's a history. So even with the Head of State, a lot of the movies, even with Set It Off, Set It Off the movie, but I attached to Set It Off because Jada Pinkett met Queen Latifah here in Baltimore.
That's a thing, right?
And they were best friends.
See, you may find this interesting. One of the things that I'm planning on doing is, like I said, I do the movie review podcast. One of the things I was thinking of doing something that has an attachment to Baltimore, whether it's the lead is from Baltimore, it was filmed in Baltimore, or it's set in Baltimore. I wanted to do something like that, and Meteor Man is on that list, especially because, like, my man Greg, who I do a podcast with, he and I were talking about, like, he did like a month of Black superhero movies.
Powerful.
That he was writing like blogs about it. And he was like, yo, you should probably watch this, or this is an ass, but it's still a Black superhero. And he was like, I'm going to do this going up into when Black Panther came out. That's what he was doing. So he's like, I got Steel in here. He's like, Steel's not great, but also he's like, Catwoman with Halle Berry, also not great, but you know. So speak on. So let's see. When do your best ideas hit you? You mentioned the synchronicity of things. You mentioned like kind of touching on that nostalgia. But when would your best ideas hit you? Mine's hit me randomly.
Same here. I'm gonna say my best ideas hit me when it's complete silence. Like I can be in the car driving and don't even realize no music is on. And I can have music in my head, or I can just, a lot of people say, oh, well, my best ideas come when I'm in the shower. Nah. I can be sleeping in my mind. I'm like, okay, I'm about to go to sleep. And a good idea won't run through my head all day. But when my body is tired, my mind isn't tired, and I'm literally just thinking of just all these ideas. And if I do not write these ideas down, they will be forgotten. So it comes at the weirdest times, like really right now. And then when it just comes at 3 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever have you, I'm just writing in the dark. And some ideas come to me in my dreams.
I find that when you're dipped into whatever your thing is, you can't turn it off. So like I don't sleep well, right? So I've been sleeping a little bit better, but I don't really sleep well. And sometimes I'll have something that hits me in the middle. It's like, yo, this dream could be a fire treatment. This could be something. And I started leaving a notepad next to my bed or something because
yes, bro.
I had this ridiculous idea. I was like, yo, I want to have like a series or at least a skit or something where it has to be a visual where it's a guy he's really obsessed with, like he's a detective in his mind. He's really obsessed with these anachronistic like cop shows. So he's wearing like, it's like the summer, it's like like 100 degrees and he's wearing a trench coat because he wants to be Columbo. I was like, this is hilarious to me. And I was like, I need to do something with this. And the other thing is I'm a person that I'm really into puns. That's a thing for me. And it's just like my girl was like, all right, big pun. I was like, you're doing it now. And, it's just like the sign of like, I think in my head at least, having an active mind. You're active into whatever the thing is. You're being quick. You're being about it. Because ultimately, I have like a script here of questions I'm going to ask you, but for the most part, these things are improv.
Yes.
And even the other podcasts I do, they're improv to a big degree. And if you're not dipped in it, you're not able to do that. Something that's not firing. So I would imagine the same thing that kind of applies for what you're doing. So if you're not tapped into the content that you want to maybe repurpose or have some familiarity with the work that's being commissioned.
Yes.
So if you're like faking it, like, yeah, man, Meteor Man, that looks lit. Let me do something with that. No. If you've liked Meteor Man or watched it, then you can do it more authentically.
Absolutely.
That's the thing that people don't see.
Absolutely. And it also ties back into what you just talked about too off air, the nostalgia.
Yeah.
Like it's going to attach you more to the thing. Like I'll have this thing where I always talk about the story and the logo and your signature, your story and signature. Those are two strong things. Like, for example, like Salt Bay, for example, when you go to Dubai, I've never been to Dubai, but when people talk about, like, when they go to Dubai, the only people who complain about his menu is the people who don't see it deeply. Even people who can afford the menu, they be like, oh, man, I paid $1,300 for steak. If I want to do that, I would do that. No, this is what you're doing. You're not just paying for that steak. It's the story and the signature. The story behind Salt Bay and how he became Salt Bay is who he is, right? So when you buy into the signature, his signature is what? The little sprinkle thing, right? So when we attach, like, our stories with these comics or these movies and stuff like that, we imprint that the signature is internal it's imprinted on our hearts. You know what I'm saying? So everything that I do, I allow that to attach that. But that's also what I want to teach when I start having my art apparel store, is that like attaching the story and signature is very important, because that can also increase the why of why you're doing it. And like you just said, you're just not creating Meteor Man or anything for that matter. Like even the stuff that you're going to do with, the series that you're thinking about, that is innately inside you, and you're just not talking about it because it's the clout. Like, I remember you said in your joint, you was like, what's clout? I seen that in your story, right? But people are doing it for the clout. The people that have clout mind, they're the ones that are just splattering it together.
I think about that stuff like all the time, because you want to do, and this is a thing that I do, and I ask some people, and I think I have an answer for you on how you may approach it, but feel free to chime in with it. I always do this thing of, how are you checking in with yourself? Are you doing whatever you're doing for the right purpose? Are you being authentic in that purpose? Because it can switch. It can be like, all right, I need to do this for this bread right now. Cool, that can be a purpose. Or it's like, I really need to get this out. Like some people will use their art or their practice as a means to deal with something. They may have had some loss, some trauma, or what have you, or they are really happy and they're like, I want to share this with everyone. And it's being able to know why you're doing the thing.
Yeah. Yes.
And that ties back to like what you're saying with the meaning of that logo, the meaning of that branding and that signature there. And, I think some people don't check in. They're just too busy doing whatever it is.
Everybody's, like that, a prime
and they're
example.
disconnected from it.
Exactly. Because a prime example was when DMX passed away, right? Mm-hmm. And I met DMX when I was on a run at that time. I'm not on a run anymore. For those who may listen to this now, I'm not on a run, but I had 2 warrants. And I remember when I met DMX, I had those warrants, those outstanding warrants here in Baltimore and in Phoenix, Arizona. And before, how I was able to meet DMX was my friend Tony, who I met out there in Spokane, he see me wear this Belly Dicky shirt. Yeah. This Belly Dicky shirt had all the scenes on the Dicky shirt. Because I had a movie series line that I would do just on Dicky shirts. I had the Mac, I had Belly, and these are movies that I actually, fell in love with, right? Belly was the first DVD movie that I had, and I watched it repeatedly. So anyway, basically with this Belly shirt, when I met DMX, I was in Spokane, and I was just coming off the Greyhound bus because I couldn't catch the plane. I was too paranoid to catch the plane because, like I said, I can get extradite from Phoenix, Arizona, or whatever. You know what I mean? So anyway, I was on the bus or whatever. Never do it again, bro. I was on that bus for about 5 days, bro, because I was coming from visiting Baltimore to see my cousin's wedding. So anyway, right when I got off the bus, the guy Tony was like, "Hey, yo, Keo, look, DMX is in town, bro. Like, you know what I mean? I want you to meet him and bring that Belly Dicky shirt." And at the time, like, I got a chance to do a little bit of shower, but not too much. And I had the bacon neck T-shirt underneath, right? Oh, no. So I did, but the Dicky shirts, you can just put something over top of it and you'd be good. Yeah. Man, I did that, man. I met DMX, and I remember it was in a dark. He was the only one in his restaurant, and it was like semi-dark. But the only thing I can remember was his 2 chains. One of the chains was glistening. I said, "Yo, that's DMX."
Yeah, when you went in there, did your the eyes have the contacts in it like
Yo,
a belly?
No,
it different colors.
But see, my shirt, it was, I don't know if you remember the LED lights that used to be on the belt. I would break that apart and I would put that on the shirt.
Oh, nice.
So he noticed that joint from the top. So he's like, "Let's go to the back, dog." So the guy Tony, he gave him the green, and he smelled a little while. He was like, and Tony's like, "Yo, I want to introduce you to my man Akio." And he's like, "Yo, he made that Dicky shirt that he got on, but DMX didn't hear him." Yeah. He's like, "Yo, dog, where you get that shirt from, dog?" And I was like, "I made it." Like my man Tony, he's like, "Yo, hey, let me get it off your back, dog." I was like, "Yo," and you know what I said? I told him no. I said, "Man, look, man, I can make you one." The reason why I did that too, because I didn't want my ID to be taken away. I was fearing that, okay, this is New York, they, kind of like embrace it. You never know what eyes is on it. So I used that as security, like, yo, I can exchange my number, and then that way I can make it. So the manager was beside, he was like, "Yo, how soon can you make it then, man? How soon can you make it?" And I was like, well, I was telling him that whole spill. And then DMX was like, "Where you from, dog?" I said, "Yo, you ain't listening to nothing that Tony just said." I said, "I'm from Baltimore." He said, "What you doing out here in Spokane, Washington?" I said, man, I gave him the whole spill. At that time, I was like I was 22, and I had 2 warrants in 2 different states. So I used it at that time. I was like, and used that as my bragging rights. He was like, "Yo, dog, you might as well go home and do your time." And he was like, "Yo, you might as well, do." And I was like, "Yo," I said, "Yeah, but I don't trust this and the third." He said, "I know a girl that did a body. She only did 5 years. Dog, do your time." And I said, "All right, well, D, look. Can I get you on my camera?" Because I had brought my camera with me. And he was like, he gave me a look like he was upset because, like, how you gonna want something from me and you can't give me the Belly Dicky I'll show you back? So he was like, "Nah, dog, I got you at the after party though." So I was like, "I bet." So fast forward, right? This is so weird. The synchronicities. Fast forward. The same, and I still have the pictures dated on my phone. The same date that I had went to a sticker mill to get like these hologram stickers was the day that, a day later, he was in the hospital. I was like, "Oh, yo." I said, I hope nothing happens. And then the same day, and I can show you on here, the same day because I took a picture of my mailbox and all that, the same day that I got the stickers in the mail was the day that he passed away. And I said, okay, like, and people was like, "Yo, dad, that's what happened, like how the Chadwick Boseman." Now, I didn't go along with the clout as far as how people would do stuff when people pass away with the Chadwick Boseman, because I said no. But this time, I was like, nah, yo. I said I was already in plan and motion to do this. I wanted to have the sales and the proceeds to go to people who are suffering through drug addiction. With the sales that go, the proceeds that go to that. So I said, yo, I got, like how you just said, yo, I gotta do this, not for money or anything like that, but just for the cause and just to tell the story, because the story, the videos on YouTube was going to match with the merch that I was going to actually produce. So it's only now people that have the clout. Like I was in the mall today. I was what store? I was in PacSun, and I'm walking. No, I'm sorry, not PacSun. I was in Nordstrom's, and I'm looking on the right, and I see DMX right there. I'm like, yo, see, now that's clout, and that's that. But when you have I have a story that's attached to DMX, and then not only that, if you look on YouTube, I got the footages on YouTube. I filmed him after that. Me and Lazy Bone got into a fight, not a fight, but a playful fight. Yeah. That same night, man, we wrestled. He told me always be prepared. And then we gonna get it popping again. That's when that song first came out. He's like, yo, shit, they fucking with you, man. I'm supposed to be in here on stage. And if you look at the footage, he's just running on stage, that's and I'm great. Just getting the joint on it. So yeah, man, it's just wild, man. I got a lot of stories like that, even with Havoc and Mobb Deep and stuff like that, man. But it's just wild.
So I got one last question for you before we get into shameless plugs, because I like to give people the opportunity to plug whatever they want to plug. So I read that and obviously from what we've talked about, your pop culture influences include 90s gems such as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, and Living Color, Martin, same here. As you just mentioned, Belly, and even Friday. Yeah. So I'm going to give you 4 quick ones. Okay. They all relate to the previous things. Who is your favorite turtle?
Raphael.
Okay, we're on the same page. Rita, Lord Zed, or Ivan Ooze?
I'm going to have to go with Rita because that was a classic Power Rangers right there, man.
Smokey or Day Day?
Smokey.
And lastly, who was your favorite Martin cameo?
Oh.
Yeah, that's a hard one, isn't it?
Now, that can be cameo that's not a character on the show.
Like somebody that popped that they can be playing themselves. Or a person that played the character.
Man.
Because you can always go like Pretty Ricky. That was a good
Pretty Ricky was cool. Yeah. Now, I'm going to have to go with Jeez, hold on.
I know you're going to say it. I was waiting for you to say Biggie because Biggie pops up in there.
Not Biggie. It's had to be the Jodeci.
Okay, that's a good one.
You know what I mean?
That's a good
with
one.
The boots.
That's a good one. That's very 90s.
It was a Jodeci, man. Yeah.
See, me and my brother, we always do the Ninja Turtles thing, right? Because I think Ninja Turtles is such a boys thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, yo, which turtle you? And that's how you know who you can rock with. My brother's like, yo, you're clearly Leonardo. I was like, no, I would say I'm Leonardo. He's like, you're clearly Raphael. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, because you like beating people up. I was like, what?
Man, I guess I'm Raphael because a lot of people don't see this other side of me, man. Like, and see my job sees it, but I'm not proud of it. But I'm trying to work on that, man. But yeah, the temper that Raphael has, he needs some therapy, and that's why I'm actually doing the therapy thing as well, because it's like some of those things, like I told you, but for that rough childhood, there's some things I won't disclose, but. Everything, if we can tie it up with the mental health issue, that's something big. Not necessarily people crazy, but just being able to deal with those inner demons. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a thing where, you have to be able to, again, as I was saying before, being able to check in with yourself.
Yes, you did say that.
I'll say even with like doing this podcast, I try to be very mindful, and that's why I got into a habit of sending the questions over beforehand because, sometimes you get like people's work. Artists are sensitive,
bruh,
and there's a vulnerability. I think that you're telling your story and you're like, oh shit, I don't know if that was a rough time right there or what have you. So you want to have these things kind of somewhat vetted. Like know what I'm aiming for, but I'm a person coming in like I'm curious.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure that the guest feels comfortable, and they're not comfortable with sharing certain things. Omit that. Let's cut it out. And. Like, I had a conversation with someone earlier, and he asked me some really personal questions before, just off the riff, because he was curious. And I was like, yeah, I don't give a shit.
Facts.
That's just how my thing is. I don't really, I'm always set on that DEF CON thing. Like, you have a job, and you're like, what's the worst you really gonna do, though? You gonna beat me up or something? You gonna fire me? Right. That's literally how I approach most things.
Yeah.
So if it's not that, ask me whatever.
Exactly.
That's how it operates. Yeah. But in that's all the questions that I have. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to plug away, website, social media, whatever you want to put out there. And thank you so much.
Man, well, thank you, man. I'm going to give a quick shout out to just everybody in general who has been able to, like, even you, man, before I plug me in. Thank you for having me, man. Thank you for having me in here, man. But my plugs is Akio Evans, everything Akio Evans, AKIOEVANS. You can reach me on my website by Akio Evans and at YouTube Akio Evans. A lot of things that's happening now too with me working on a set of a lot of different other productions closing in this last fourth quarter. I'm also this. I'm gonna leave this as an exclusive on your podcast. I'm also working with the people that are producing or creating the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reboot. They are actually having some of my art pieces that's going to be worn by the new characters Ashley Banks and Jazz and Will. That's going to be on the and they Ashley, she collects street art and handmade street art, so that's exactly what I do. So I'm just grateful to even have that opportunity by the grace of God. But yeah, man, that's the fifth production that I've been able to work on this year alone. As far as my artwork being on set on a production, so I'm just grateful for that, man. You know what I mean?
You heard it here, folks, and thanks for putting that out there. That I saw the news about that show actually because I thought it was like a bit. You're like, yeah, we're gonna do a dark version, a drama version of Fresh Prince.
Yeah, you seen it in 2019, right?
Yeah, and I was like, this is a bit, right? Yeah. And it's like, nah, it's actually happening. I was like, hold up, run that back.
Yeah, because when they first did it, Coop, when he first did it, it's like you and I, right? What if we was to create Meteor Man and we just created and put it on YouTube for ourselves, for our own thing, right? Yeah. And then let's say Robert Townsend sees that and says, hey, you know what? You just created a pilot. Yeah. That's what happened in that scenario.
Nice.
And now they're shooting it now. Well, not shooting it now. They're starting September 7th in Philly, and then they're gonna shoot the other scenes and what's the name? But yeah, that was just a passion project, and that's why. Wow, this is so good. Yeah. That's exactly why you said check in with yourself, because if you create, I'm learning that when I create passionately or start to create like these passion projects, that's how you know you're aligned with your purpose. That's how you know that those good things will come to you. You get what I'm saying? But when you're doing everything that everybody else is doing, you look like everybody else, and you're not standing.
You're wasting your time.
Yeah. So, man, yeah, definitely.
So thank you.
Man, thank you.
So I'm Rob Lee for Akio Evans. This is Getting to the Truth in His Art, saying that there's art in and around Baltimore. You just gotta look for it.